Hi, folks. This is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report. I want to tell you something, and, I'd like to come on here every time I do a report and say everything is wonderful. But a lot of times, in a lot of ways, it isn't wonderful. And I made a call this morning before coming on the radio, and I called some people I know down in Jefferson County. And I wanted to see just what was happening down there. And they said, well, the big news right now is people that are going out in Chameau Bay and into the St. Lawrence River down there in the area where it flows out of Lake Ontario. These people, these avid fishermen, are doing the worst this fall that they've ever done. And I'm like, oh no, really? And they said, well, we feel it's because of the pressure of all the tournaments. And they told me that there have been 78 tournaments go out of Chameau Bay this year. Now, when we're talking about tournaments, we're not just talking about the big national ones that we bring to Meissner. We bring 5 tournaments a year in the entire year to our water here. But they're talking 78 tournaments. Now, what has happened? I asked them, I said, so are you telling me that the fish are dying? No, the studies show there's just as many fish as ever, but the fish aren't hitting. We go out there, we can mark them all. We see tons of fish on our graphs, but they're not hitting. And so now this is all, from this point on in this report, this is conjecture. Because number one, I'm not a biologist, and I don't even know a lot of times if the biologists really know unless they can do some extensive long-term studies to trying to find out what's happening, what appears to be happening. And that's what these really good fishermen tell me, is that the tournaments, the everyday big-time pressure on these fish is making them more wary. Is wary the word? More learned. That's probably part of the word, because even though they don't have brains like ours, and am I fooling myself here? But even though they don't, they certainly learn. They react because they have to, or the species wouldn't survive. It's just a case of nature. But we really should take notice of this, because I think it's important that if we're going to use our resource for different reasons, and in this case, to bring more people here to enjoy it and to promote it, key word, then we have to be aware that there's certain challenges, and more than challenges, certain sacrifices that we need to make. Now, the beginning of those sacrifices is to try to study this more, try to find out how we best cannot hurt our resource. They claim we're not, that studies both from Canada and studies that have been done through Cornell and other agencies have indicated that the number of fish, the number of bass, is no lower than it's been for decades. So I guess what I want you to be aware of is, yes, if you don't like tournaments, I can understand it. There's more people out there in our favorite spots, and you might think that they're killing the fish off. They're not. I don't believe they are, but they're certainly changing the role of what fishermen have to do to be successful. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report.